This is the second video in a series where I will show you how to use Adobe Illustrator to create a decorated tree. By the end of the first video, you should have a tree that looks something like this one. By the end of this video, you should have a tree that looks something like this. Let's go back to this one and go ahead and get started. So go over here and look for the Layers panel. If the Layers panel or any of the other panels that you need are not showing, you can locate them by going to Window and choosing it from over here on this list, and it will pop open. So in my Layers panel, I just want to double check that the layer that has all the branches is selected. So I'm going to open up this little menu here, and I can see, oh, here's all of my branches, so this is the correct layer. Then, just to double check that the tree isn't actually selected, I'm going to get the selection tool and click off of the tree to double check that it is not selected. Now I'm going to go over here to where the shape tools are and choose the ellipse tool. I'm going to change the color of the ellipse to just a random color. I'll choose this yellow and take off the stroke. And on my work area here, I'm going to hold down Shift to constrain the ellipse to make a circle. And that looks good right there. Then what I'm going to do is open up the gradient panel and go ahead and change the gradient. So it put a black line around it, and the reason that it did that is because I have the stroke forward down here. So I'm going to fix that by putting the stroke back on none and clicking to make the fill come forward. Now when I click the gradient, it will, and change it to radial, it will actually fill this with a gradient. Now I don't want a black and white ornament, so I'm going to go to swatches. Let's see if I can find it. Oh, here it is. And open up this little menu on the side, go to Open Swatch Library, Gradients, and I've looked through a few of these, and the one that I think works out pretty well is called Simple Radial. So there they are right there. I'll move them over to this side. So I can click through these one at a time until I find one that I like, and I'll go ahead and go with this magenta one. Okay, now I'm going to deselect this, Control-Shift-A. Still with the ellipse tool selected, I'm going to hold down Shift and drag another one. Maybe this one will be a little bit smaller, and I'll change it to a different color. And Control-Shift-A to deselect. Make another one, maybe larger. I'll make this one purple. And last one, maybe a medium-sized blue one. How about that color blue? Okay, Control-Shift-A to deselect. Now what I'm going to do is, with the selection tool, I'm just going to make copies of these and scatter them around the surface of the tree. So I'll start out with this purple one right here, select it, hold down Alt, and just kind of put these here and there around the tree. And then I'll do the same thing with the other ones. I'll do it kind of fast. Let's get some blue ones on there. And finally, some yellow ones. And I'm trying to work kind of fast here, so you might take a little bit more time to get them scattered around just how you like it. Okay, now that I have those on there, they look like they're sitting on top of the tree, and I want them to look like they're nestled inside the branches. So what I'm going to do is just start here at the top and click this blue one, and on the keyboard I'm going to hold down Control and use the bracket key next to the P on the keyboard, and I'm just going to hold down Control and hit bracket, 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 bracket. And what that's doing is it's sending it to the back. And there it went. Okay, so I'm going to bring it forward one, bring it back. Okay, now using the keyboard, the keys, arrow keys, I'm going to move this around until I can see it peeking out behind that branch. Okay, now I'm going to get this magenta one. Same thing, Control, and keep hitting bracket over and over again. Oh, and then to bring it back, just use the other bracket. There we go. And just keep doing that, Control and bracket over and over again. And use the arrow keys to position those. And do that for the entire tree. I'm not going to do the whole thing because it would take me forever, and I don't want you to have to sit there watching me do this when you can just do it yourself on your own project. So finish doing all the bulbs that way. And the next thing that we're going to do is make some twinkle lights. So for the twinkle lights, you will need to make sure that nothing is selected. Change the fill to white and the stroke to black temporarily. With the ellipse tool, hold down Shift. Okay. Hold down Shift and click and drag out a circle. Go to Effect, Distort and Transform, Pucker and Bloat. Let's click Preview here. And we want this to look like a star, so that looks pretty good, 68. And I'm going to click OK. Now, holding down Alt on the keyboard, first switch to the selection tool, then hold down Alt and drag off 2 copies. Change the size of those and rotate them so that you have a little bit of variety for your stars. And I think I'll rotate this one just a little bit. There's my twinkle lights. Okay, then I think I'm just going to use these guys right here to be little colored twinkle lights. And I don't want this one. Get that one out of the way. All right. Now, these are much too big, so I'm going to draw a box around all of them. Hold down Shift and shrink them way down. That looks reasonable right there. And I don't want the black line around that. The minute I get rid of the black line, though, I'm not going to be able to see them anymore because they're on a white background. So let's select all of them by holding down Shift and clicking on them individually, and then hit the black stroke and put none. All right, so now I'm going to draw a box around all of them and open up the Symbols panel, which I don't see over here, so let's look for it. Symbols, Symbols, Symbols. There we go. So in the Symbols panel, I'm going to take these guys here with the Move tool. Come on now. And drag them and drop them into the Symbols panel, and I'll call it Tiny Twinkle Lights. And change it to Graphic and click OK. Now with the symbol sprayer, you know what I'm going to do before I spray these on? I actually am going to put a gradient behind this. So I'm going to click to the bottom layer, pop this open, change this to a rectangle, draw a background on here. I'm going to right-click, send that to the back, and change it to a blue. Let's see here. I'll get this, change it to 90 degrees. Drop the white on one end and the blue on the other end. That blue's kind of obnoxious. I'm going to make it a little lighter. There we go. Now, when I put my twinkle lights on here, I'll actually be able to see them. So I'm going to get rid of this, and let's deselect that, Control-Shift-A. Select the symbol sprayer, which looks like a spray can, and make sure that I select my tiny twinkle lights as my symbol. And then I'm just going to spray them on here. And I didn't mean for that to happen, but it looks pretty cool. I actually, this is them right here, a symbol set. They're behind the tree. And I like that. Now I'm going to go put some on top of the tree. So let's see. But before I do that, I'm going to change the appearance of them, get the opacity, and put the opacity down a little bit. Looks like the high 60s looks good to my eye. Okay, now I'm going to go back up to this layer and spray some symbols. So I'm making sure that it's selected by clicking in this little round dot right here. Now let's see if this works. So I'm going to just kind of zigzag some symbols on here. Nice. Looks a little bit too much, so I'm going to make the opacity less. There we go. Maybe a little bit right here. Oh, okay, it's not letting me. Will it let me? There we go. All right, so I will call that good. In the example, there was a multi-point star, and you can make that by, if you want to, by the same technique that we made the twinkle lights, using drawing an ellipse and then doing the transform, distort and transform, and using the pucker feature. If you would like to do that, or it's not mandatory, you don't have to. So that is a pretty darn good looking tree right there. Looks pretty realistic perhaps, with the nice bristly brush that we use to make the pine boughs. Anyway, that's it for now.